All right, let's get right into it. When we look at the landscape of modern hip-hop, you'd be hard-pressed to find a dynamic as totally fascinating, heavily scrutinized, and just relentlessly volatile as the ongoing saga between Florida's Kodak Black and Louisiana's NBA YoungBoy. In this explainer, we're going to break down the timeline of this incredibly complex rivalry, sticking strictly to the facts, to understand exactly what drives these two superstars together and what inevitably pulls them right back apart.
We're actually kicking things off with a question posed by a fan over on the NBA YoungBoy subreddit, because it just perfectly captures the paradox of these two. How come YB and Kodak keep squashing beef, right? Fans know these guys can be incredibly close, almost like brothers, which makes it so wild when they have these massive, explosive falling outs, only to suddenly patch things up out of nowhere. It's the ultimate curiosity loop, and it gets right to the heart of what we're looking at today.
See, we're not just looking at a one-off argument here. We are looking at a well-documented, multi-year cycle. It's literally a pendulum swinging violently from genuine friendship and hit collaborations straight into deeply personal rivalries, followed by these surprising moments of mature truce, only to reset right back to renewed tensions. It's a total roller coaster.
So to keep things professional and on track, here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The shared origin story. 2. Friction and falling out. 3. Parallels in the system. 4. Squashing the beef. And 5. Reigniting the rivalry.
All right, Section 1, the shared origin story, 2017 collaborators and rising stars. Let's see how this actually started. Flashback to 2017. Kodak and YoungBoy were both undeniably ascending as the voices of a whole new generation in rap. They connected super early on over the shared chemistry and street-focused lyricism on tracks like Water and Chosen One. I mean, just listen to how they rap about being champions and the chosen ones. It absolutely captures that crazy synergy they had. Fans ate it up. They were basically two prodigies operating on the exact same wavelength, blending their gritty regional sounds into a united front.
Moving on to Section 2, friction and falling out, when collaborators become rivals.
Well, that honeymoon phase? Yeah, it didn't last long. As both of their profiles skyrocketed, that fragile alliance started fracturing under the weight of crew affiliations and romantic entanglements. Things deteriorated fast. In 2018, tensions really surfaced when Quando Rondo, who's super tightly linked to YoungBoy, burned Kodak's Sniper Gang merch on camera. Then, by 2019, the friction got way more personal when YoungBoy started dating Kodak's ex-girlfriend. It just became this tangled web of public disrespect and posturing while both guys were simultaneously fighting the legal system.
Then 2020 hits, and the tension completely boils over. Kodak, who was actually serving a 46-month federal sentence at the time, threw out some incredibly serious allegations. He basically accused YoungBoy of cooperating with authorities regarding the Ayanna Mayweather incident. And you know, in this culture, an accusation of cooperating with police is pretty much the most severe claim you can possibly make. It was a massive escalation. YoungBoy immediately fired back with this furious, super emotional response on Instagram Live, fiercely defending his name and pretty much torching whatever was left of their friendship.
Which brings us to Section 3, parallels in the system. Two superstars, similar trajectories.
Now, to truly understand why they clash so often, we got to look at how remarkably similar their lives actually are. It's honestly like they're looking in a mirror. These are two men fighting the exact same ghosts, navigating incredibly severe federal legal trouble while somehow maintaining unprecedented chart-topping commercial success. Both faced massive federal weapons and drug charges. Yet despite these monumental hurdles, both achieved staggering Billboard #1 success while literally confined to house arrest or sitting in a prison cell, YoungBoy with Top and 38 Baby 2, and Kodak with Bill Israel and Dying to Live.
It is a fascinating parallel. They've both managed to hold on to massive fan bases from confinement, dealing with extensive probation, house arrest, and highly publicized raids across multiple states. But get this, perhaps the wildest similarity they share, and it's genuinely amazing when you step back and look at it, is that both Kodak Black and NBA YoungBoy hold the extremely rare distinction of receiving pardons from President Donald Trump. I mean, what are the odds? Their life experiences are so remarkably aligned that their rivalry often feels like two identical forces just colliding head-on.
All right, Section 4, Squashing the Beef, the 2023 Truce.
So after years of taking these subtle and sometimes not so subtle shots at each other, the hip-hop world was genuinely shocked by what happened next. Out of nowhere, in January 2023, the two publicly signaled a truce. They hopped on this highly publicized, totally lighthearted FaceTime call. They're smiling, catching up, playfully joking about gumbo. It was such a crazy contrast to the heavy, serious allegations from the previous years. Fans were definitely breathing a sigh of relief, wondering if this multi-year conflict was finally put to rest for good.
But, as history has shown us with these two, peace is usually just a placeholder for the next storm. The speed at which they resolved years of bad blood was inspiring, sure, but it naturally raised a very logical question. In an industry fueled by intense competition and ego, could this fragile peace actually hold up against the pressures of their upcoming album releases?
That takes us to Section 5, Reigniting the Rivalry, 2025, the Massa Era and Mellow Racks. Which brings us to July 2025, where that carefully constructed truce completely unravels. Just as everyone was getting used to them being cool again, the cycle violently resets, and it all starts over an album critique. Kodak jumps on his Instagram story to explicitly tear down YoungBoy's new album, Make America Slime Again, or Massa. He claimed YoungBoy was sneak dissing him and proceeded to call the whole project straight trash. After basically holding a peace treaty for over 2 years, Kodak didn't mince words, totally pulling the pin on the grenade once again.
And YoungBoy, well, he immediately retaliated with a slick troll, knowing exactly which buttons to push. Shortly after Kodak's comments, YoungBoy is suddenly spotted hanging out in Paris with Mellow Rax, who of course is Kodak's former girlfriend. But he didn't stop there. In an absolutely hilarious, super petty move, YoungBoy and Rax actually collaborated on a new track called Guys Just Wanna Have Fun, literally flipping the iconic Cyndi Lauper pop hit into this direct, absurd taunt aimed squarely at Kodak.
So when we take a step back, we can clearly see this exact 4-step cycle repeating itself on loop over the years. Step 1, they collaborate and bond over their shared trauma and immense talent. Step 2, personal slights turn into massive public feuds. Step 3, a shared understanding of their unique positions leads to a public reconciliation. And Step 4, a perceived slight or a strategic troll sabotages it all, and the beef is renewed. It just proves that their shared history is exactly what makes their rivalry so incredibly volatile.
Ultimately, their absolute inability to stay friends or even stay enemies is a huge testament to the chaotic environment they both operate in. These are two phenomenally successful artists who rose from incredibly difficult, similar circumstances, thrust into a massive spotlight, where every single move is monitored, dissected, and monetized. This explainer really shows that this isn't just about rap beef, it's a real-time display of the psychological dynamics of modern fame. We're literally watching these two guys act as mirrors and triggers for one another on a massive global stage.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Are these explosive blowups and sudden reunions genuine emotional reactions to betrayal and forgiveness? Or is this cyclical tension exactly the kind of highly engaging curiosity loop that keeps both of their massive fan bases heavily invested? It's definitely something to chew on. Keep exploring the deep lore behind the music, and thanks for joining me for this explainer. Always keep questioning what's beneath the surface.